Hello and welcome back to Kilmainham Gaol for another one of our Kilmainham Gaol on lockdown videos. We're going to do something slightly different today because today is the 24th of April. It's the anniversary of the start of the 1916 Rising, but of course very little happened here in Kilmainham Gaol on the 24th of April 1916. The main action was really happening in Dublin city centre. Now, things were happening around the country as well, and we'll be hearing about one of those stories later on in this video. So instead of visiting part of the building today, I thought it might be interesting to look at two objects associated with that first day of the Rising. The first is, I suppose, one of the iconic items associated with the 1916 Rising. This is a copy of the proclamation. But the copy here in Kilmainham is a little bit more special, again, because this copy was sent by Thomas Clarke to his wife Kathleen on Easter Monday 1916. Theirs was a really remarkable and close marriage, and it was also a political partnership. Both of them were devoted to trying to achieve Irish independence, and in many ways the 1916 Rising and this proclamation was the culmination of their life's work. So I think it's really significant that one of the first things that Thomas Clarke does when the Rising officially begins is he sends a copy of this proclamation to his wife in their home on Richmond Drive. He gave it to a young woman called Sarah McMahon, who delivered it to Kathleen. And then years later in the 1960s, she donated it to the Kilmainham Gaol Restoration Society, and it became the first object that they recorded in their new collection, and it was a highlight then, and it's still, I suppose, one of the highlights of the collection here in Kilmainham. So I suppose from this object associated with the very heart of the Rising, we're going to look at something associated with one of those regional uprisings. There weren't very many due to the countermanding order that was issued on Easter Sunday, but around the country small groups did rise, and we're going to look at particularly what happened in County Meath. These objects are actually upstairs in our temporary exhibition space. Just back in February, we launched Reuse, Repurpose, Recycle, Transforming Objects in Kilmainham Gaol. And it's an exhibition based around 15 items in our collection which were changed or transformed during their history. And it's looking at, I suppose, how objects changed in terms of what they mean to us and what they're used for. So we're just going to head this way. You can just see the opening panel with our reimagined serpents from the front of the jail. And if we head through here into the section which looks at objects that were repurposed, I have the case open, and we can look at these blades. So these were fashioned by Irish volunteers based in County Meath. In the run-up to the Rising, all around the country, the Irish volunteers were desperate for weapons. Guns were in very short supply, so they were making weapons and homemade bombs around the place. And these blades, which I think were probably designed to be kind of pike heads, were made from garden tools. Most notably, if we look closely at some of them, you can see their origins. They were actually the blades of garden shears. And on Easter Monday in County Meath, the Irish volunteers did rise. They learned that the Rising was going to go ahead despite the countermanding order. And they seized a man's car in County Meath for use in their activities that week. Apparently this car was used in the Battle of Ashburn later on in Easter week. And when his car was returned to him, he found these blades, and he handed them into a police station in Julianstown. But as I said, it's really interesting just to see how they sharpened these blades. And I suppose in some ways it seems odd to see, I suppose, pike heads being made for a 20th century rebellion. But of course, at the time, men fighting the First World War were still being issued with rifles with bayonet blades on the front. So they were still, I suppose, a current form of weapon. In terms of their transformation, of course, what's really fascinating is the idea that garden shears, something that you kind of associate with a nice sunny afternoon in the garden, clipping your hedge, could be transformed into weapons of war. So that's it for this video, and hopefully we'll see you again shortly, and we might try and mix in a few kind of objects from our collection, as well as looking at different areas of the building. Until then, stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.